today, right here, right now. This is the moment that you will finally say,
I'm growing my accounting practice, and we're going to discover exactly how right here, right now,
on the Grow My Accounting Practice podcast.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Ron Saharian, co-founder of Profit First Professionals.
Oh, and I'm Liz Sporn, a guide here at Profit First Professionals.
Oh, and I'm Mike Gallowitz, the author of Profit First, brand new book called All In, too, is out there. And you're listening to GMAP. That stands for Grow My Accounting Practice. This is the show where we teach you to do exactly that. So welcome, bookkeepers, accountants, and coaches. We're here to grow your business, and we're going to do it through a great guest interview. Today, Bubba Cook is joining us, and we're going to be talking about how you can use Excel, because we've been wondering, how do I use that technology? How to use Excel and other tools to drive cash flow optimization for yourself and for your clients, of course, profitability and all that good stuff. It's sitting on your desk, down, using it.
Yep.
And we have a GMAP Now task, one task to do some results, and Ron's got insider access, something we're doing here at the offices you think you can do over there at your office.
Wow, and our new format, everybody. I hope you guys are loving this. And this episode is brought to you today by Miles Talent Hub, the official provider of staffing for Profit First Professionals in America, where we realize that there's a need for full-time resources. Check out Miles Talent Hub. They are our go-to for full-time resources.
Awesome.
So,
And also,
about
don't
it?
forget to review, subscribe to Grow My Accounting Practice podcast so you never miss an opportunity to hear the wonderful guests that we have on our shows.
yeah, get the
So good.
tattoo with GMAP across your chest.
I'm going to get it right here, Mike. Right across.
Oh,
my-
yeah. Oh, the one.
Oh, and now that we have video, we can see all your tattoos. It's going to be so great.
GMAP. That would be badass, right?
Ron's gonna have the one drop coming from the eye, the one tear drop,
Actually, Mike, you know me. I'd have like 3 or 4 tears.
3 or 4 tear drop.
Yeah,
That's
I
just
grew
after
up
you got
on-
to 4th grade. Like it was violent.
The
Violent
mean
time.
streets of Boonton Township in
Yes,
the country,
that's true.
man. Holy cow. It was rough growing up.
Hey, Liz, what inspired moving over to this kind of format where we got some video going now?
Well, all the cool kids are doing it. So I'm going to say full on peer pressure. But truly, we were having some technical difficulties and we all live on Zoom. I know that people like to see who they're listening to, and it gave us more flexibility. So I think, this is a fun experiment. Thanks, gentlemen, for letting me play with this. I'm excited. I'm still in the studio. So now I'm just lonely in the studio. And I have this weird background. So it looks like my shoulders keep,
Yeah, you keep disappearing and fading
I'm
out.
just like the invisible woman. It's fine. It's always been
Oh.
my dream. So it's fine. But no, I think it's going to be fun. And then we can play with it we can add it to all of our YouTube stuff, and people can still listen as usual on all of their podcatchers.
And to our listeners, thanks for bearing with us. If we mess up, Bubba Cook is going to cover us. So let's introduce our guest. His name is Bubba Cook. He is an entrepreneur and innovator with over 45 years of experience in accounting, financial management consulting, and coaching, having worked with 400 and more, or more than 400 dental practices across all of the U.S. and North America. He specializes in cash flow management, overhead optimization, and profit maximization. We are joined today by Bubba Cook, and we're going to talk about how you can use simple tools that you already have to transform your clients' cash flow, plus profitability, plus performance. So, with no further ado, Bubba, welcome to our show.
Oh my.
So loud.
Thanks, Michael. It's a pleasure to be here. Good to see all you guys.
Yeah, it's pretty unique. We
Did you
typically
just
don't
get a
see-
Michael?
Michael? Hello,
Yeah.
Michael?
Hello, Michael.
Oh,
Wow.
I don't think so.
No, that's good. That's fine. I'm just not going to show off its rails.
yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No, I don't.
Is there another name, Ron, I should use?
Mike. Hey, Mike.
Michael,
Okay, yeah.
Mikey,
Mikey, motorbike.
Mikester, but no, Michael's fine. So, Bubba, where are you based out?
I'm based out of Scottsdale, Arizona.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
Mississippi.
I love Scottsdale, and a longtime supporter of our show, Nextiva, has their headquarters in Scottsdale. I spent some time out there
Yeah.
at their offices. So let me ask you about your specialization or your experience with dental practices in particular. How did you get involved in that community, and what did you learn there that translates to so many other businesses?
It's interesting. I've got about 45 years of experience in accounting. I'm a CPA,
Yeah.
business owner, entrepreneur, but about 6 years ago, I had an opportunity to go to work for a company based out of Atlanta that provided consulting services strictly for dental practices. And
Wow.
they specialize in growing new patients and revenue. And they brought me on to more or less go in and look at fixing accounting records and cleaning up accounting records and doing some of that type of work for dental practices.
Mm-hmm.
But when I went in there to do that, what I discovered was these dental practices were growing their top line revenue. It was like amazing. It was going from like 500 to a million to 3 million to 5 million to 10 million.
Huh.
And a lot of the doctors were telling me, hey, you know what? I know I've grown my top line revenue and it's really super cool, but I'm making about the same amount of money, now that I was making when I was doing 1 million. I feel like I'm working twice as hard, and I feel like I'm a hamster on a running on a wheel, and I'm not getting anywhere. And so I dove in and I started discovering that their overheads were running like 70, 75, 80%. The other thing I discovered was there is no business school in dental school. So all these owner doctors that own these dental practices that have grown these amazing practices had no business training. And so their overhead was running wild on them, and they just didn't really understand how to get it down. So that's what sparked my interest in trying to develop a program to help them get their overhead under control.
I got to ask you something, and I know Liz and Ron have questions, so we're going to do a little raise our hand type stuff. My question for you though is, because I see this over and over again, that businesses are growing the top line, but the expenses overhead is racing up at the same rate, even sometimes faster. Have you discovered, Bubba, what the propensity or reason is why this happens over and over again?
Yeah, I just in the dental world, because that's where we really specialize, Mike, is just what we noticed was if you take a rock and throw it out there, you're going to hit about 500 dental consultants. And every single dental consultant is all about new patients and top line revenue. And so they focus all of their money, attention, marketing efforts on growing that top line revenue. And I discovered something. I always look for really cool phrases that help owner doctor, dentist focus on things. And one was offense sells tickets, but defense wins championships. And so I started to get them to change their mindset on, hey, wait a minute, we got the offense down, we're selling tickets, but we're really not winning the game because we're not playing defense. And so I got them to start focusing more on overhead, controlling overhead.
I love
Is
that.
it unsexy? Is it defense for these guys and gals when they hear you talking about it?
You're very unsexy. It's where you get out in the trenches. And you know what? In some of my workshops, I use pictures of defensive linemen that are missing teeth with mud all over their uniforms.
Awesome.
It's really not fun at all. But that's where the game's won, is down in the trenches.
There was Ron will get a kick out of this. There was a 30 for 30. This is a sports thing about Stack Exchange, the New York Jets.
Love it. Jets, yeah.
So they show the pictures of Mark Gastineau,
Yeah.
Abdul Salam, and Joe Klecko. And my wife just happens to walk in and she goes, "Oh," she goes, "That young Frankenstein?" Pointing at Joe Klecko.
I am so happy you didn't say she said, "Is that Ron?"
Yeah.
No.
I thought you were going.
Yeah.
So, all right, so I don't want to hog all the questions here, but how do you get someone started if they've been so focused on the offense, new revenue, new patients? How do you get them to start playing the defensive side?
It really goes back to fundamentals. And one thing we had to do was go into their QuickBooks and reorganize their QuickBooks into more or less if you look at it, just a standard set of QuickBooks, a P&L, it's alphabetized. There's no rhyme or reason to how they structure their accounts. So we set up their accounts into something that makes sense. For instance, the first thing you look at is called team expenses. And then we're very fortunate in the dental industry where they've developed benchmarks. And so they have percentages that a range you need to fall into for your team expenses. And so when you organize your P&L and you have all these major overhead categories and you have these benchmarks and you set it up for an owner doctor, the owner doctor described to me, it's like turning the lights on. It's like he looked at his P&L before we worked with him. And it's like, I see a bunch of numbers, but they don't really make a lot of sense. So all I see is revenue and profit. I don't really understand anything in between. And then when we get finished organizing things correctly, he can look at all the various departments and see those benchmarks and see if he's within benchmark or out of benchmark. And it's really easy for him to really zero in on where his overhead's running out of control.
So that's awesome. So you're providing clarity on
Right.
fiscal happenings through it. Oh, geez. new camera, everybody. Sorry.
Whoa.
I know. Sorry,
He's like, look at
everybody.
me.
all right.
Look at me.
Oh my God, I don't even know how to get it back. But did you have to come up with creating your own tools, or there's off the shelf tools that help you accomplish this clarity for your customers?
No, it was really interesting, Ron. This has been a labor of love over like 6, probably more closer to 8 years, where um, after you set up your QuickBooks correctly, it tells you what's kind of going on, but it doesn't really
Tell you
go
what
into,
happened.
yeah,
Right.
but it doesn't tell you why. And
Mm.
so what we did was we started developing tools using Excel, where we go in and start diving into like underneath, like what's really going on with we call them providers. So a provider would be a doctor or a hygienist. Like what's going on with provider production? What's going on with hygiene production? What's going on with all these various tools? And so Excel helped us really get in, and we developed a really simplistic tool, analytical tool, about 8 years ago. And you know what happens when you get on a plane and you have 8 hours to fly, and you don't have, you've seen all the movies. Well, you just start using Excel and developing new different tools in Excel, and we developed this probably it's a very sophisticated diagnostic tool now we use for our dental practices. But we what's really cool, Ron, is we call it our X-ray, and that's really what it is. It's an X-ray that helps you really get in and see what's really going on in dental practice. So
What
My
what
gosh,
what
I
are
love
some
that.
what are some things that accountants have missed when managing an a dental practice? Like what are they neglecting to realize?
what's what's really interesting is um, well, let me answer it in a kind of a long-winded fashion. Just bear with me for a second. So, one of the things we discovered with dental practice, and maybe with a lot of businesses, is they don't do proper financial planning, right? So you don't have anywhere to go. Like your tax accountant really doesn't do financial planning, and your bookkeeper can, but probably doesn't do sophisticated financial planning. And
You
so
mean like budgeting? What do you mean financial
yeah,
plan? Okay.
budgeting, also developing like we just got finished in November, December doing our 2025 financial planning tour with all our clients. It's where we sit down and we develop, a sophisticated revenue plan, looking at all the providers and how many days they're going to be working and what they're going to be producing per day. We develop a very sophisticated revenue plan, and then we come in and do overhead budgets. And then I should have said this. I should have said, after we get our revenue plan done, then we do our profit first allocation plan to find out what the owner doctor wants to make. And then from there, we go and develop our overhead plan. So that's kind of the process we use. So that's
Uh,
what a lot of accountants aren't doing now. They're not doing those really plans. So you don't really have tracks to run on. So
I want to get back to the airplane moment. At least I heard you say it's the tools underneath QuickBooks that matter. You did in Excel. For our listeners, what kind of tools do you think is the kind of the low hanging fruit of stuff that they can develop or plug in to make QuickBooks, that data, more manageable, more tangible, more evaluatable?
you know, one of the things that QuickBooks can't do really a good job on
Yeah.
is comparing your actual results every month against a plan and against prior year, and then being able to evaluate how am I doing against my plan and how am I doing against what I did in the prior year, and then making some decisions about where you are with respect to your plan. So that's a really easy schedule to develop and then implement, and that's what we use. One of the things, once you get your plan developed, they always say no plan survives contact with the enemy, right? And every single client that I have,
Yeah.
you have this really nice plan developed, and then you open up your doors on January 1 and something happens. And so you need some way to evaluate, okay, where am I against my plan and what are my action steps to get back on plan?
Love it. One of the things you wrote in your pre-call work was you said instead of writing a book, you should develop a tool. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, I was able to attend my first ProfitCon this year, and I met some amazing authors that are writing books, and
Yeah.
I that's a skill I don't have. And so I was just really taken, like, wow, this is really cool. But then it struck me. I had 45 years ago, my accounting teacher told me, hey, accounting is the language of business, right?
Nice.
And so my entire career, what I've noticed, even with my own companies, is that numbers tell a story. And it's up to me as the consultant to be able to go into, like, say, a dental practice and help the doctor see the story. He may not be able to see it. And what I've discovered is some doctors, they see the story in a table of numbers and they understand that. Some doctors see a story in a graph and with lines and columns. And so you need to be able to provide both in order to be able to have your clients really understand and see the story. Some doctors will look at a table of numbers and, like I said, it'll just blend and they don't really understand it. But then when they look at a graph, they go, wow, this really, I understand what's going on now. So
Yeah, you're a translator, and we
right.
talk so often about taking the accounting jargon out of there. And so even the way that you were talking about your football analogies and your offense and defense, like you do that all the time to help them
Yeah.
to see the story. And real quick caveat, did you happen to win anything at ProfitCon, Bubba?
Oh, darn, I forget, what was
Oh,
that? Oh,
oh,
sorry.
what? Did you win an
I
award
always
or
keep this
Hey!
oh, what's up, Rookie of the Year?
Yeah. So anyway,
He's
I always
holding
keep
up
this
for our
close by.
podcast
So
listeners the Rookie of the Year award.
Rookie of the year.
Oh, what? This old thing? That was
this whole
awesome.
thing.
So
Oh, darn.
there's a lot of talk about storytelling. If you want, maybe I'm missing something. How does Excel tell a story?
Mm.
Well, like I said, Ron, I'll give you an example.
You like that, Mike?
I know that was a good question.
Yeah. Yeah. How does it tell it? Well, okay, for instance, um, let's, I had a,
Like
I was
you're
in a-
providing a narrative that goes along with it because, like, I see ups and downs, but it doesn't tell me the story. It just says up and down.
so let me give you an example. Last year we had a client, we developed a really good tool. They're doing about $15 million a year, 2 locations, 2 dental practice, 2 locations. And we developed this really sophisticated tool with their leadership team, and we were really excited about it. And they were going to be setting some pretty lofty goals, and they were going to be doing some pretty good things with respect to revenue. And then on week 2, a snowstorm hit, and they shut down their dental practice for 2 weeks. And then about week 4, they lost 2 of their highest producing doctors. So
Mm.
all of a sudden now the story is, uh-oh, we have this great plan, but our actual numbers are way, way under. And so we had this conversation about, um, do we adjust our plan or do we go with our plan and see what we can do to make up for it? And so, we all made this decision that we're just going to keep our plan in place and we're going to see what we can do to get back on plan. And so every month, like, we would do certain action plans, and then we would see that trend graph starting to edge back toward the plan. So every month we would get closer and closer to back to the plan. And so they would add a provider, like they would get a new doctor provider and add that provider. And the story becomes, okay, now we've just made up, 20% of our gap and we're almost back to plan. So every single month it's telling the story. Are we improving? Are we getting closer to plan? Are we moving further away from our plan, or where are we? So that story gets told every month. So
Is this you delivering all this and compiling all this data, or your team? Because it seems like an awful lot of work. And I can imagine our listeners saying, I can't afford to do or spend all this time with my customers. Are you spent? I mean, what is the cadence? What is the frequency? How much time is your staff translating that story?
yeah, we actually have what we call our KPI team. And so we use Splashtop and we access our clients' data using Splashtop. And we download, cut and paste and download that data into our Excel worksheet. And it takes about an hour per client per month. And then we are able to create some amazing graphs and charts and everything. We've spent quite a bit of time developing the Excel worksheet, but now that we've got it developed, Ron, it's really not that time consuming every month. But
I had a question for Bubba, for our listeners that maybe aren't familiar with Excel, if that's the go-to tool. I'm sure at a certain point you didn't have experience. What's a good way to have practical experience and start using Excel quickly and start seeing results?
one thing I discovered, like, I would have probably 8 years ago, I would put myself as probably maybe a C plus user of Excel. I knew a lot of the basics, but none of the really more sophisticated tools. But I started watching a lot of YouTube videos. There's like some amazing YouTube videos on how to use Excel, as I was developing these tools, and the best way to learn Excel is in real life situations. So like when you're developing something specifically for a client trying to solve a problem, you know, you can go in and find any kind of Excel video on any type of special thing you need to do in Excel. And that's how I learned, Mike, is just doing it by watching videos and then trying it, trial and error, and just developing them. So
I got a really neophyte question, but the integration of QuickBooks to Excel, is that something the data is connected live, so to speak, or is it you export it, work with the data that's been exported, and you repeat the process of export import type stuff?
yeah, so we're going through this iteration. So it's all manual right now. We
It
all
is,
have
okay.
to cut and paste, but
Okay.
we started a project about 3 months ago. So we're moving to more like a computer application where it'll be integrated and it'll be online real time. And so we'll be able to it'll just be automatically downloaded every day. So
Okay. But
that's
our
where we're
listeners, if
headed.
they've never done this, they could just do an export of a
Yeah,
CSV
exactly.
file or whatever,
Yeah,
start working with it.
exactly. Very easy to do using Splashtop too.
Does ever, have you found using Excel, these other tools, when presenting to the customers, does it show them something that they aren't aware of, but now become consciously aware of it? Because, you know, we all trust our instinct. My gut says this. Have you been able to show them stuff and they actually believe it to be true? Or do they try to override it with, well, I know my business better than the system itself?
You know, our clients, our doctors are like hungry to learn. I have never run
Okay.
into a
They
situation
want,
where
they want to get
they
better.
want to know, and when they see it, just like that doctor told me, it's like you turned the light on for me now. I couldn't see it before, but now I see it clearly. Like I'm running like notoriously what happens in a dental practice, just so you know, the front desk, someone will come in there and say, hey, we're overworked, let's hire somebody else. And the doctor doesn't know. He just says, okay, go ahead and hire
Right.
whoever you need to. And all of a sudden their admin wages are like way over benchmark
Right.
and it's killing him. And he feels that, he knows that, he just doesn't know how to see it. And then when I show him in graphs, it's like, oh yeah, I shouldn't have hired that person. So having those tools prevent him from going there and doing that.
Great. Real quick question about, you know, knowing that you're in dental practices, and I assume you've worked with other types of businesses. Would you say, what is the one thing that you would share with your other fellow accounting firms or financial coaches that dental practices need to know? Like, what's the number one most important thing that your dentists are hungry to learn
So probably
or
like
wish they
any,
had more clarity on?
yeah, like what's really fun, what's really interesting is like most doctors, they have an idea in their mind, like how much money I want to make.
Mm-hmm.
They just don't know how to get there. And so when you put together a complete package, like a plan where you show them, here's the revenue that's going to come in, and here's how much you want to make, and then here's how much you have left over to cover your overhead expenses, and then build budgets around that. That's the one thing that they really, really value, and they really. And then, you know, what I do is I use the allocation tool, and on a weekly basis, they'll share their allocation tools with me. It's kind of an accountability thing to make sure they're allocating their money to the right bucket every month. And I kind of watch that for them so that there's no surprises at the end of the year. But I think that's the one thing that they really value is that entire package. They need the whole package. And they don't get it typically unless you have the right tools in place, like the allocation tool and then the Excel and all those things working together. So
That's awesome.
Probably the alarm started going on my side. Time flew by. We got to wrap it up.
That you have that alarm set up? That's nice.
I do. It's my wife's face. A picture of my wife comes up. So I'm like, ah, so it's time.
That was quick. I got some good questions left over, so
Yeah.
I'll ask them to you offline, Bubba.
okay.
Before we let you go, Bubba, can you share where our audience can get more information, learn from you, connect with you?
Yes, our company is Dental Profits Institute. So we have a website, dentalprofitsinstitute.com. And then our CFO services, it's a sister company called railheadceo.com. So those are the two best places to reach us, find us, and
Amazing.
schedule a discovery call, and we'll be able to hop on there and have a good conversation. So
We will put that in the show notes. Thank you for joining us today.
Great job, Bubba.
Thank you,
I'll talk to
Bubba.
you
And
soon.
again,
yeah,
congratulations on your award. You really
thank you
are
so much. I appreciate
nailed that rookie year, my friend. Well
Thank
done.
you very much. Thank you very much.
Well done.
All right, Liz and Ron, we got a job in front of us. We have to recap what we learned. We have Obi runs Insider Access. I got a GMAP Now task. But first,
Hold, I'm coming. I got it.
Oh.
Oh, God.
I stretched it for you too. I've got a trippy question, I think.
I do. Well, it's not such a trippy question, but it's a simple question. It is, in business, in your experience, what do you think is the ideal age?
What do you
Ideal
mean?
age for what?
Just of what ideal, like
Start
in
business?
your business career, what was your ideal age? Like, what was your favorite age as a business owner? It could be your age or the business's age.
Oh, okay. My favorite age as a business owner was my very first business. And so I think I was in 7th grade renting out cassette tapes because there's no
You
risk.
rented cassette tapes?
Yeah. And so
Like Striper?
like I had the Striper album, To Hell with the Devil, and Scott Schneier took it, and then I rented it for $1 a day. And the next day I'm like, where's my dollars? Like, I don't have the money. And then I'm like, well,
That's when
how
you
you
call Bobby
pay?
Gaffigan to beat his ass.
Yeah, that's what he said. So, well, you're gonna get beat up, and then so I lost the Striper tape. So it was the greatest
7th
learning.
grade business owner.
Yeah, if you don't have any recall, any enforcement mechanism, you're out of business.
Right.
That was a short-lived.
It was one tape gone. Striper.
What a business.
Congratulations.
Mike. What a business.
$12.
Yeah.
What about you?
You know, I don't have a lot of experiences owning businesses. I mean, Profit First Professionals is actually the first business I've technically ever
Okay, so
owned.
like in business, like yeah.
You know, the first year of every new opportunity for me is always the most exciting, the most challenging, the hardest, and the most rewarding. So, I mean, I remember the early days of, walking down to Mike's basement, and I still had pretty much half a suit on, and just trying to figure things out, and realizing that whatever room you're currently in, your experience got you there. Remember that, and leveraging that previous experience to wade through the unknown and just rely on, my previous success, Mike's previous success, to get through the uncomfortableness of the new challenge. So the first year.
Great. That's what I was gonna say too. I like the scrappiness. The scrappy startup phase is my favorite. Everything's exciting, everything's scary, everything's just
Right. And there's no money.
so fun. But even if there is money, like we had an angel donor, and we had money, and that was so fun and scary because you're like, don't blow it. We
Don't
can't
mess it up.
spend it. Don't screw this up. Oh, so fun. Okay.
All right. Why don't you
Thanks, guys.
buzz me one more time? Let's do the summary.
Ready?
Here we go. Summary time.
What did we learn?
Liz, what was your big takeaway from Bubba's presentation?
Oh, so Bubba had me at the fact that language matters. I mean, I'm a big language nerd, and I'm always looking for ways to make things accessible. Knowing that what Bubba and our members do for small business owners or business owners is scary for them. Even if they're excited and they like numbers, it's a lot. So using analogies and I'd love that, he has some pretty easy slam dunk dental analogies he could use, but no, he went straight to the gridiron. I learned that's a football term.
You're totally right there.
I know things. And I just love that football analogy. The majority of people understand some football, and offense, defense was great. I love that.
How about you, Ron?
Simple.
Yeah, ditto. Two things really stuck out. The analogy offense, I love sports. Of course, everybody's on offense trying to go for the top line, but defense wins championships. You got to,
So good.
you're inside your business, and being efficient, effective, and limiting the waste is defense. And that actually is really good. But also, it's just more confirmation that business owners across the globe, regardless of the profession, are struggling. They're following the same thing that everybody's been following for 100 years. Sell, manage your expenses, and whatever you have left over is what you're paying yourself in your profit. And, as Bubba was saying, a lot of these guys great at top line growth, but they're not making any more money. It's crazy.
What landed with me was accounting is the language of business. I think that was what, Liz, you were saying. I like the idea of first organize your accounts so you make sense of your numbers. So a pile of numbers is simply a pile of numbers. It's that organization that starts giving language to it. it's a jumbled alphabet until you organize it. So that was just an obvious but important factor. I think a lot of us skip. Just because we're putting numbers in doesn't mean we're going to get good information out.
Or that we like the information that's coming out. Look at the data, really. Or, you know what I mean? Don't spin the data.
Yeah, definitely don't spin it. Yeah, the truth. You can't deny the truth. All right, where's that lightsaber, Liz? Oh,
you know what?
that is loud.
Oh, and look, he's so excited. He could really show it.
In his office, he's waving. If you listen to our podcast, his real lightsaber. He's trying to ignite it now. He's looking for his Darth Vader helmet. It's all going on at once. There, it's illuminated.
There it is.
Ron, this is a strategy used in-house that we think our listeners could use. What do you got?
Yeah, one of the things that we were talking about last year is just being more empathetic in general as business owners. I think it is going to be the new the new power strength of a leader. But in conjunction to that, how do you do that, right? How do you help your staff, your teammates, your peers? Well, one is understanding what some of their personal goals are, what some of their business goals are, what some of their life goals are. So every year, we have our year-end meeting and everything. This year we decided to say, hey, what are your top 3 goals? What's your business goal? What's your personal goal? What's a family goal? Right. And it's in that way we can all help each other be better human beings, not just from a business perspective, but from a life perspective. And so, if you guys want to help your staff out even more, find out what they're into, what their goals are, and help them accomplish it.
Yep.
Nice.
Very nice.
Wow.
It's so scary.
Some things are so loud.
It scares me, and I push the button. Like it's still
when you blew, mind-blowing bombs.
Can you hear this or no?
No.
I got one last thing for you. It's the GMAP Now task. One task, if you do it, you'll see results. In this conversation, we were talking about industry averages, comparing yourself. You may have heard this before, but you would never go to your child, I assume, and say, hey, what's the average of your class? I hope you aspire for the average. When I was writing Profit First, what I studied was all these different industries and specifically the fiscally elite, meaning the top performers, and set that as the standard. So the numbers in Profit First are the top performers. Because I think everyone who desires to aspire to be the top student should desire for the A grades. So an additional challenge I want to put out for you is for yourself and for your clients, look at what the industry elite are doing. So know what the industry average is. That's the C grade. Determine what the industry elite is, and then decide what field you want to play in and make that your metrics.
Oh, that was
Nice.
awesome. Wow. Nice job, Mike. Thank you, Bubba. Thank you, audience, for listening to Grow My Accounting Practice podcast. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Liz, what else do they need to do?
Well, if they want to hang out with the likes of Bubba Cook, Rookie of the Year, future award winner of the Potty Awards, short for podcast, they should give us a call. They should hang out at ProfitFirstProfessionals.com. Hit that Become a Profit First Professional. It'll allow them to schedule a meeting with Ron or with myself to learn a little bit more about the benefits and the return on the investment of membership. We have a wonderful community here, lots of tools, and we're really focused on eradicating entrepreneurial poverty. So that's what they should do.
Be like Bubba.
ProfitFirstProfessionals.com.
I love it.
Okay,
All right, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Catch you next week.